Good morning and welcome back to my channel. My name is Bettina. Today I want to talk to you about maybe something a little bit different, something you haven't thought about in relation to fertility and pregnancy, and that's using a vision board and why you might use one, how it can help you during these two stages of life, and how I've personally used it. So you will notice I've got a little helper today. Lately he's been having terribly short naps, so you know what, we're just going to roll with it and see how he goes today. Hopefully he's not too loud and just happily plays with a few things whilst I chat with you guys. What do you reckon? So first of all, what is a vision board? Basically, it's just a collection of images. It doesn't have to be on paper. It could be digital. So I've used one on Pinterest before. Just a collection of images that kind of summarizes or pulls together all the visions or ideas that you have for what you want your future to look like. And it doesn't have to be literal. So an image might convey a feeling for you. It doesn't have to be, I want that specific thing. You can create a vision board purely around feelings if you like. So it doesn't necessarily have to be about achieving things. It can be based on just how you want to feel in the future. And for those of you who are non-woo-woo, don't believe in the law of attraction or manifestation or something like that, you might want to just think about it like, you know, when you buy a new car and suddenly you see that type of car everywhere, it works in exactly the same way. So when your brain is looking at something and thinking about something all the time, we start to see that thing everywhere. We start to see the opportunities that might lead us to that thing. So if you, for instance, have on your vision board that you want to go to Hawaii, you're suddenly going to start noticing that the flights to Hawaii have come up really cheap, or that there's this package deal being offered, or someone will talk to you about Hawaii and suddenly you're listening for recommendations about where to go. So this is... You're very loud. So while I personally believe there's also another level of magic to the energy of putting out to the universe what it is that you want to create in your life and what you're trying to work towards, at the base level, it could just be a visual reminder for you about how you want to feel, so that every day when you look at it, you're reminded that, yeah, I don't want to get into that stressed out state or that fearful state. I want to come back to, this is the future I'm trying to create. So right now, what do I need to do? And hopefully that is calm down a little bit or look after yourself a little bit better. All right, let's get into how to use it for fertility and pregnancy though, because I know that's why you've come here today. Maybe it's just to check out my cute baby. All right, so the loud baby is gone and we can get back to it. So for me personally, I've used vision boards for both fertility and pregnancy, and I think it's a really great thing. Vision boards don't just have to be for people who are trying to build big businesses or run marathons or achieve anything amazing. Vision boards can also be used for just getting really clear about how you want to feel in a certain situation. So for fertility, you can use a vision board to make sure that you stay focused on your whole life and don't become so narrow and obsessed about the baby, which I know can happen. I've definitely been there. When we were trying to have our third child and I was experiencing losses, I definitely started to become so narrowly focused. Your world becomes very small, and I don't think it's a healthy way to live. So in this instance, I think a vision board can be used to make sure you're still creating life in a really whole and healthy way and not getting so obsessed about trying to conceive. I have made another video about obsession when you're trying to conceive, so I'll link that one above and below as well. But I just wanted to show you this. So this was my vision board that I made about 2 and a bit years ago. I created this vision board after our 3 losses. We'd taken about 6 or 9 month break, and then I was ready to start thinking about it again. And you'll notice I've got 2 images of pregnancy and I've got a picture of a baby, but the rest of the pictures on my vision board were about other things and all of the other amazing things that were going on in my life at the time. So at the same time, we were renovating downstairs because I was setting up my home yoga studio. So you'll notice that there are images on here showing you what I wanted the studio to look like. We've got a kids room because I do mums and bubs yoga, so images that show the feel of the kids room. And I've got women gathering because that's a really important part of my life, women coming together to support each other. You'll see that there's a stack of books on my vision board because the time I was writing my book about overcoming loss, which is almost finished, which is very exciting. You'll see that there's yoga classes, there's pictures of nature because that's where I feel my best and most grounded and most happy. You'll see that there's a picture of what looks like a tropical island because I wanted to rest more and not be so stressed. So that one's not necessarily about taking a holiday to a tropical island, but more about just kind of embodying that in my everyday life, like reading more and doing all the things that I love to do on holiday, getting in the pool, getting in the ocean. You notice there's also an image of a woman meditating, because at the time that's something that was really important in my daily practice for fertility. Was each morning I would get up, I would meditate, I would visualize. So as much as this is a vision board, I also used visualization. So I'll link that video if you want to learn more about that. But visualizing this future that I wanted to create, and even going as far as visualizing the baby and the birth and a healthy pregnancy. And I think all of that is really important, because it sent those messages to my body that it's okay. I didn't need to stress. The future kind of had me. I had this vision. It was going to happen. I could believe in it, and I could let the stress of the what ifs be behind me, and I didn't have to grip and hold. I could kind of trust that this was coming. And finally, there's a picture there of a couple holding hands, because at the time also I thought it was really important to focus on our relationship, because trying to conceive and losing babies puts a huge stress on your relationship. And at that time, when I came back to trying to conceive after our big loss, I really wanted to not lose all of that connection that we'd created throughout that break. So I really wanted to keep that connection strong. So looking at this vision board now, 2.5 years later, it's really time that I created another one, because it feels really good to be able to do it, but I can check pretty much everything off this list, other than the fact that my book isn't published yet, but that's this year, it's coming. There is nothing really on this vision board now that hasn't really been created. So that feels really good to know that these things I just kind of put together because that's how I wanted to feel, but it really has helped bring them into my life. It's reminded me that yes, when you're feeling stressed, you need to get out in nature. And while of course, just putting a vision board together and hoping for the best isn't going to create it, you definitely still have to do things to get there, but it is a really nice visual reminder. So it reminded me I needed to get back on my mat and meditate, or I needed to get back on my mat and do some yoga, or I needed to come together with a group of friends, because that's so good for the soul and so good for your overall health. So that's how I used the vision board for fertility. But what about pregnancy? So I used a vision board mostly in my second pregnancy. And this one was a digital vision board. So I used Pinterest to create this one. So my first experience of birth was fairly traumatic. I went in blind. I didn't educate myself about what my body would do and how I could support it, and it wasn't the best experience. So when I fell pregnant with Rory, I started gathering images about how I wanted birth to be different this time around. So what I wanted it to feel like, and how I wanted to feel going into it and afterwards, what would unfold. And little by little, that led me down the road of doing a hypnobirthing course and meditating more and practicing using my yoga tools for birth. And it just kind of, the vision board focused me on what it is that I wanted to create. Instead of thinking about that second birth and thinking, oh my God, the last birth was so terrible, and replaying all of the negative things that happened in that birth, I was able to use the vision board to really focus on the positive new experience that I wanted to create. And I can tell you my second experience of birth was out of this world different to my first experience. It was empowering. I felt on top of the world afterwards, and just so proud of myself that I did it on my terms, and my body did exactly what it was meant to do and as it was designed to do. I hope that gives you some ideas of how you can use a vision board for both fertility and pregnancy. If you have any questions, or if you use a vision board, I'd love to know in the comments. If you've made it all the way to the end of this video, I'm going to give you a little homework task, which is to go and start creating a vision board of your own. So whether that is because you are trying to create a baby, whether it is because you are already pregnant and thinking about birth and want to create that reality, or it could be about life with a baby. So maybe your experience of the first year, which is super tough with a new baby, maybe it was filled with a lot of anxiety and you really struggled. Maybe you can create your vision board about that first year and what you want it to be like this time around. If you haven't already, I would love if you would subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Namaste.